When I looked into her eyes, ocean blue and full of unlived life, it was then I knew that we were intertwined for the rest of our years. When I saw her in her dress, white as snow, and I was such a mess, but every eye was fixated on her, I knew that I was home. So we shared our words of promise, we gave each other rings that seemed to always fit, and we became indebted through the thick and thin. Our future was real. And I didn't know how beautiful she'd be when I stood at the altar and she walked towards me. And as we became one, I saw such a grace as we pledged a commitment that only death could erase. When I looked into her eyes, she was scared, but then we heard the cry of life. And I never thought that anything at all could be as beautiful as her. Then one night I saw her desperate eyes, tired and worn from staying up at night, from giving every single ounce of her life to our new baby boy. I did not know how tough it'd be for her to raise a son her mom would never see. She asked, why did God take her from me? If only cancer hadn't struck. And I did not know how hard it would be to go from immature kids to a family of 3. But in all the persistence we saw such a grace, as our hearts they were softened and desires were changed. One day I looked into her eyes as she said, baby, I have a surprise. Our family is growing up in size. The 3 will become 4. But then the Sunday after that, we found out that the heartbeat had gone flat. And oh, it was so hard not to regret that we had told all our friends. And we did not know how hard it would be to lose a beautiful child that we never did meet. After all of the sorrow, we saw such a grace, because one day we found out we had a daughter on the way. I remember when she cried, when I told her there was no more job or money. So we moved back across the country to stay with those who could help. And I wrestled with my fears. I had to swallow all the pride I kept so near, because now for the first time in years I could not provide. And I did not know how much it would take to work 3 part-time jobs for a child on the way. But in all of the hardship I saw such a grace, as I learned how to love and priorities changed. Then one day she called me on the phone. She said that she was rushing down the road, Labor came 3 months too close. Our baby girl could lose her life. When I got there, I looked into her eyes. They were still ocean blue, but ever terrified. And the doctor said to keep this child alive, we need an operating room. And I'll never understand how much she feared. After only 25 weeks, our daughter was here. And it all was a blur, as they both could have died. She was rushed into a chamber just to keep her alive. I looked into her eyes. I saw her tiny hands the size of dimes, as nurses and machines kept her alive. I knew it would be hard, so we fought frustration as she grew. She had a surgery 'cause her heart was split in two. It took 2 years to eat and breathe and chew. We had to patiently wait for her. And we never knew how rough it would get, how the constant care she needed would make our marriage feel ripped. But through all of the stress, and although it was hard, we were learning the meaning of till death do us part. Now when I look into her eyes, I see a 2-year-old that's gleaming full of life. I see a child who would have been allowed to die. She has a full life ahead, and she's only as tall as her brother's neck. He's only 3, but he already protects her. There's nothing quite as sweet as hearing all the laughter. Oh, they're both so full of life. And I never knew how much I could love, till my plans were all shattered for a daughter, wife, and son. As we all faced the hardship, we saw such a grace from a God who is sovereign, and he works in the pain. We never knew how beautiful it'd be when you plan your life one way, but it happens differently. And in all of the chaos, we've seen such a grace that we're learning how to love and how to be changed. Oh, in all of these years, we have seen such a grace that we're building a life only death could erase. Yes, we're building a life that only death could erase.